Hi everyone. I'm nearing the end of my stay. It's quite hard to believe that I've got just one more night here at the elder care facility that I've been staying at for almost 2 weeks. And I feel like I'm ending this with so many more questions than I really have answers for. What has struck me in the last couple of days, and I guess it's what strikes me all the time, is the level of empathy that is required not only to take care of individuals who are in care, but also for us as family members. And while I ask for big conversations to happen at very high levels, I'm also asking about families. I can't tell you the number of times that I have heard the refrain from nurses here when I've asked about people's families. Do they have family? Yes, they have family. Where are the family? They're just very busy people, is a very, very common refrain. Another refrain is estrangement in families. And I'm asking myself so many questions about how we grow up in society here in Singapore. What kinds of relationships are we having with our parents? What those relationships have resulted in. Positives, negatives. Why I have been in a high dependency ward for 3 days and I have not seen one family member here, not one person who comes to sit with anybody at all, ever. It's not good enough, to say that government and policy and society has made me who I am. It's just not good enough. I think we really need to dig very deep into our hearts when we get to a particular age in life especially, and ask ourselves how we are going to live the next 40 to 50 or, if we're lucky, 60 years. And if we're lucky enough to actually have our parents or our grandparents, what sort of life are you going to live together? Because you can't escape it. Your parents are aging and they need you. And you might think that I'm standing here and not understanding your particular perspective or your relationship with your mum or your dad or your grandparents, but believe me, I do. Nobody's life is perfect. No relationship is perfect. Least of all, the deepest, closest love that you can possibly ever have, which is between yourself and your parents. And we all know the opposite of love is hate. Is it possible for us to love and hate the same person? Yes, it is. 100%. But does that mean that you leave the care of your parent to someone else because you can't get over your shit? And believe me, I also understand having to put someone in care because it's very difficult for you to cope. Dementia itself is not something easy to understand, but at the same time, it needs to be something that is easier to be understood so that people get better equipped emotionally, because 90% of this is about our emotional response and the rest of it is logic. What sort of care, what does my parent need, what does my grandparent need, and the rest of it is just our emotional response. How are we going to deal with our aging parents? How are we going to deal with mum or dad who can't remember who we are? How are we going to deal with visiting them as often as we possibly can and putting aside our brunches and lunches and life? Because it isn't and it shouldn't be an either or. It should be, you are part of my life and part of my world, and I will come and see you till the day that you're gone. Whether you gave me enough love as a child or not. I mean, for God's sakes, we're all going the same way. We're all going to die. And if I look at the end, I want to look back at my life, at least for me, and say that I did my damnedest, Mom. I did my damnedest. I wish my dad was here. That I never abandoned you. It's not good enough to have responses that are born on the wings of policies that have made us calculating and cold, or that we have perceived to make us either or black and white. When do you think for yourself? When does the empathy gene strike?